This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joire.
Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joire, and today is Wednesday, February 28th, 2018. We are at Mobile World Congress, and I have an awesome bunch of guests. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hi, Miriam.
Should we do the intros like... I'm not going to pick on you like I did last time, Nicole. Let's start with Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Josh from GadgetMatch.com.
Jules.
I'm Jules Wang, Pocketnow.
Jaime Rivera, Pocketnow. Pleasure as always.
Nicole Scott, Mobile Geeks.
So it's a little bit of a smaller, more intimate setting this time.
Yeah.
I want to quickly give a shout out to Qualcomm for providing this meeting room for us in the middle of the Fear Like the busiest part of the entire universe right now. They managed to give us a quiet
And
space.
it's so quiet here, or at least it's relatively quiet, away from all the noise.
It's good. It's very good.
And Hall 3 is the hall to be at.
Yeah,
Correct.
it is for us at least, because we're pretty... It has all the OEMs, all the carriers that we need to talk to, so it's just right there.
Yeah, so speaking of, there's a bunch of big announcements that happened. Let's start with Galaxy S9. Come on, this is probably the biggest news, right? We all knew it's going to be the biggest news. They're going to take up the biggest news cycles. We're all making advertising revenue off it right now.
As we speak, set by set.
So, Galaxy S9, what are your thoughts on Galaxy S9? Who wants to start?
I think it's boring. I think it's boring, and it's an iteration, and it's going to sell well. I think it's way too expensive in Germany and Europe in general.
What do you mean
Like
it's boring? They have the
200.
freaking AR cards, and you can hold it virtually in your hand for like 5
You should
seconds.
see me with makeup.
Oh. Well, I have. I'm kidding.
Oh, man. That's
Man.
Well, I think you're right. And you really did summarize it, but I do feel like I wasn't expecting more than an evolution, but I knew that because S6 to S7, S8 to S9 can be the top, right? That's how it works, right? So I knew it was going to, design-wise, I figured it'd be pretty much the same. But I'm excited because, it's very Samsung. They took this thing where, like, the whole world is going computational photography out the kazoo, right? Yeah. And we know that's the future, no matter what you do. Because commodity hardware can now become wonderful. Yeah. And they said, we're going to do that because we want to be part of the party, but we're going to continue doing what we do. And it's very Apple-like as well, in a way, what they just did. It's like, we're going to focus on making even better camera hardware. And I have to give them kudos for that from an engineering point of view. This is pretty amazing what they've done. Yeah. But is it necessary? No, it's just bragging rights. I mean...
They just needed to update their phone this year in time for the usual refresh. But you're right, it's very Apple-like, and I think they've found their groove, they found their trademark look. They've experimented with curved designs for a few years, and now they're like, yep, this is how we want it to look like, and it's still pretty good, so we don't need to change it. Apple didn't change their iPhone for 4 years. So.
How's that working out for them?
The 10, I think, is a pretty...
Well, they made a change, and that didn't really go well. I mean, it went well at the beginning. The fans bought the phone, and that was great. But, I think it's not that I'm happy. It's just I'm glad that the market has proven that not everybody's willing to pay so much for a phone. And I guess that's the biggest hurdle with, so the S9 is, what was the price tag at the end?
Well, in Germany, it's $850, which is like €150 more than it's going on sale
and
in the
the Plus
US.
is going right up there, $990, I think, right?
Yeah. So it's bonkers expensive in Europe, right? It's totally reasonable in the US. Like I think
about the same as last year, $720 to $800 at the carriers for the S8, and then like something like $830 to $900 for the Plus.
So like the one thing that I do have to give Samsung props for is they didn't put a notch in their phone. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Android has given in.
But it took me a while to notice the fact that the bottom bezel is a little bit lower than the top.
So they reduced the chin and the forehead a little bit.
I mean, look, I think the design of the Galaxy S8 is a really strong design. It's a good design language.
I like the matte border now.
I think evolving that language is nothing wrong with. I mean, what did you really expect they were going to do? Like bring a folding phone out? We know that's not happening until next year, pretty much.
But,
at the very least.
But I agree. I mean, I think if I wouldn't have been offended as much if the price wasn't as high, because there's such a significant price increase from last year, and there's not a lot more to kind of justify that price increase.
Well, but a lot of
there is though. Now, the 845 is a significant improvement of 835.
Are we really paying for that? Are Europeans supposed to shell out for that instead? Like they're getting the Exynos too. Some of them.
Yeah, and
So to my understanding, we're not going to. So it's not going to be U.S. is getting Snapdragon and the rest of the world Exynos. Apparently, we're going to get more Snapdragon, not just necessarily in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing, that it's going to be on where can we, just to be able to make enough chips. I mean, right now, Snapdragon 845, I mean, think about it. ASUS announced their 5Z and it's not going to be available until June, and I'm sure that it's because of the lack of availability.
Because of Samsung, yeah.
They need the orders, and I mean, the thing is that when you're introducing a competitor like a Qualcomm chip as opposed to Samsung, where they can internalize the costs, that price goes up just a bit for that, maybe.
Okay, so I haven't spent as much time with the S9, and you pulled yours out. HAL lives inside. Did you guys know that when you activate Intelligent Scan, a red dot comes on at the top, and then HAL from Space Odyssey, HAL from 2000 Space Odyssey is blinking at your face. What is that? It's like HAL is in the phone. I'm a little creeped out now.
What do you mean?
Look.
It's the Samsung Galaxy S9000.
It's red because it's your face. You don't see it.
It's the iris scanner.
Yeah, but my Note doesn't blink red like that.
Well, yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. I have
it turned on.
Yeah, I have it turned on. It never worked. Where is it? It's not turning on. It's saying face recognition. It's not working.
Oh no! So I have intelligence scan. So it's a blend of iris scanning.
Yeah, exactly.
So it needs a larger diode to
but it's a different technology.
Yeah, no, I know. Which is why it's HAL now in your phone.
Oh, I see.
Like HAL, the red eye of HAL.
Look, I mean, if you want to do facial recognition properly, like the way OnePlus is doing it, the way the View 10 are doing it is just, looking at facial geometry like on a flat plane.
Yeah.
You need that 3D scan, which Apple is the only one doing. Even Samsung's not doing it, which is why you can't use it securely to pay. But it's not usable for payments.
But I like the combination of iris scanning. It's just it's having that added biometric security. But
iris scanning never worked for most people.
Yeah.
They should have just removed it.
Yeah.
Really?
Never.
Never works. It's a completely useless feature. It never worked for me a single time, with or without glasses.
Are you kidding?
No.
It always works for me.
Well, you're lucky. You're one of the few. Remember the Galaxy S6's fingerprint reader didn't work for most people. Didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. And then the S7 just fixed it all.
Yes, interesting.
That's the same
and
thing.
you still have the fingerprint scanner, which is great.
Oh yeah, and they've repositioned it.
Well, that's what I want to ask you guys. I'm still not happy with that position because
me neither.
It's not perfect.
LG's is like a little bit further down. Yeah. So now it's still kind of built into the camera, that whole module-ish thing.
Yeah.
Too close.
Still too close.
Pixel is about the same height as
Yeah.
a Pixel though. If you look at it, right? Look. Side by side.
Show to the camera over there, which we're
right
because YouTube wants us to do the full camera thing.
But take a look. I mean, it's still so close to the camera.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, this is so obvious, right? Especially with a case like that.
And then I'm like, thanks for listening to us.
Okay, let's do the Mate. Let's compare with the Mate 10 Pro.
Yeah, even the
there's still
So for those of you listening, we're just comparing them right now, and they're actually about the same location. It's just that
it's about the same.
The integration in the camera pod is what's vexing here because
did you have a V30? Do you?
Oh, you do.
Wow.
The V30S plus ThinQ.
Woo.
Yeah.
I'm moving into this after the show. I'm abandoning my Note and I'm going back to LG.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for trying to address it, but come on, you're going to address it, do it right? And I think they wanted to make it look like one seamless kind of...
the little lozenge.
Yeah.
Suck on my speed.
Yeah.
Lozenge.
I mean, so, but I still do want to talk about the camera because, even though they're, it's very Samsung, they're showing their hardware chops, this dual... aperture system is pretty much an engineering tour de force.
It is.
They're using MEMS micromotors, basically the same stuff as used for OIS, and they're managing those blades must be so light and thin. This thing is have to make it relatively shock-proof, which time will tell, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's fine. And then they have to make it, temperature proof, which is another challenging thing.
Yep.
And kudos to keep it thin like that because they still don't have a camera.
I don't know how they
bump.
pulled it off. Pull that can without a camera.
Have you noticed any improvement? Have you tried manual mode where you can actually, in manual mode, you can select the aperture? Have you played with that? And what's your conclusion?
So at night, I have been noticing color. It picks up color very accurately.
The 1.5.
Yes, it is. That is great. The problem is when you have moving subjects. So I'm, at least in the first preliminary photos, obviously we're still far from our review. But I have been noticing that it's not that the camera takes more time. It snaps just as it used to. But at least for example, with the Note 7 with the Note 8 and with the S8, I knew that I could just trust Samsung and being like, I just snapped the photo and something would happen after the fact. And when I looked at the photo was great. But with the
F1.5 doesn't allow for a good focus range. It's not very forgiving that fast.
So I guess I still need to test it more. But from the opportunities that I wanted to snap photos of people, mainly if somebody's moving and I don't activate the flash and the light, it's very hard for it to grab a steady shot. So
yeah.
But I think, part of this bigger question here is whether what F2.4 does.
Well, it's exactly what I was going to say. So the 1.5 is expected to be better slightly, but it's got all these issues potentially with lens flaring and focus distance. But with the 2.4, in daylight, I think we should be getting actually better pictures.
Oh no, in daylight it's great. There's definitely, again, color reproduction, saturation. I like it. I don't know if it's just the screen. I haven't pulled the photos to my computer yet. But the photos look gorgeous during the day. Definitely. The detail is awesome. Again, it's that thing at night. And it's funny because I hadn't really noticed. Obviously, I've only had it for a day, pretty much.
Right.
So I hadn't really noticed. And yesterday, one of the parties, some of the people that already have the phone were like, it's.
I saw Michael's photos.
Yeah, have you noticed that it's kind of hard to?
Oh no, it was
people
Andrew
moving?
Martonik's photos, and they were like, "Wow, I'm low light." Anyway, so did they only give you a plus or both?
Plus.
Just the plus. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense because they want us to take advantage.
No, they gave me the regular one.
No.
Yeah, me too.
Really?
Yeah, they gave
me the regular one. I was like, how am I supposed to review this and it doesn't have all the features?
And they're like, it's a good start.
And that's what they said.
Interesting. I wanted
You're
the
just
small
a beginner at this.
You wanted the small one.
I wanted the small one.
But I have the purple, so I'm rocking the purple.
But maybe it's also which PR agency you're working with.
Yeah.
I mean,
And just like how quickly you sprint to the
Yes,
review center
exactly.
table.
And here's that other thing where it's like, oh my god, really black again? It's just such a nightmare to film a black film.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
but
so
they sell more blacks than anything else.
yes,
Because
I was at a Huawei party last night, and I was talking to one of their chief strategists, and she was like, "It's in the U.S. We're in our surveys is like black and gold are still the most popular colors," and I'm like, oh,
Well, because there's no other colors for sale, really.
Exactly.
That's true.
Like you're conditioning your market to say to open to hear the bell and not get any food.
Right.
So true. Okay, so we talked about processor. We know there's going to be an improvement. It's expected. The camera, obviously, well, the proof is in the pudding. We'll have to see. I really still think that the Pixel 2 is going to beat the crap out of this thing. Mm-hmm. This is my gut feeling, simply because computational will always win.
They have more numbers over there.
I'm a total nerd, and I love the tiny little mechanism there. And by the way, as an aside, I want to point out that this is not the first phone with a dual.
Right.
It's not even the first phone from Samsung, because of the W2018, the flip phone for China.
Yeah.
But the N86 from Nokia in 2009 had a dual aperture mechanism.
Really?
And this is not new, and they've done it before. It wasn't the same f-stops, because at the time, you were lucky to have f/3 on a phone.
Well,
2.8 was a miracle.
You're lucky you get a that'll do less than 3.5.
So I actually texted Juha Alakarhu, who worked on all the.
So to find out?
Yes.
What did you
prior to the launch, and I was like,
Juha is an awesome.
And
dude.
Juha says, so the N86 had variable iris, or actually 2 aperture in addition to the mechanical shutter.
Yeah, it had a mechanical shutter as well.
Yeah.
So what were the f-stops?
He was like, I think it's harder to use the same tech as efficiently today because the pixels are smaller, and the smaller aperture you have, the more diffraction. At that time, the aperture position changed based on the lighting condition.
Right.
Yeah. So
But it didn't tell you the
It didn't tell me
f-stops.
the f-stops,
Yeah. Well, I mean, just now it's been done before, and again,
that's a very good point, though.
it's interesting that Samsung did it in such a super thin Z
Right.
package. The Z packaging is the depth in
I'll
optics.
I'll
It's
definitely
incredible.
give them that.
But then,
It's so
I don't
yeah.
know. Again, maybe I
Is it even worth it? At that
That's
point?
what I'm saying.
yeah.
It's like we're gonna see maybe it matches the pixel in some
Right.
condition. I still think that the
Do we-
HDR plus algorithm
Yeah.
from
It's just, oh
from
my God.
Google is gonna blow everything
Right.
out.
Just
of the
having
water.
a phone
Yeah.
taking photos the minute you pull out the viewfinder.
right,
And
that's
it's just, I have not taken a bad photo with the Pixel ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard for me to stop using it.
I've tried really hard and I've succeeded at taking bad pictures with a Pixel,
Really?
but in conditions that are just unspeakable.
Oh my! Like literally, I've been carrying an iPhone 10 and a Pixel.
Yeah.
You can look at my camera roll on the iPhone, and all it has is Instagram stories.
Right.
And you know
I
what's funny?
literally
Because I
don't
had
take
this
any
conversation with so many people. Us in tech media all pretty much agree that, the iPhone 10 has a good camera. It's solid, it's good. Everybody will be happy with it. But if
But
you
it's
compare
no
it to
Pixel.
the Pixel 2, it's
Yeah.
like not even a contest.
No, oh my God! So
But
watch my
Tell
review.
this to an Apple fanboy.
Yeah.
So listen, in my comparison between the Pixel and the iPhone, I grabbed this photo of me, my sister, and some friends at a bar. Like,
You keep pulling this out. Yeah.
well, yeah, it's just that photo is probably one of the many examples I have where there's in low light, there's just no room for comparison.
Yeah, the
In
iPhone 10.
the iPhone photo, obviously the flash will blow up everything. It's expected. But then the Pixel uses the flash as a compensation, but then probably it's been pulling detail from the background ever since you pulled out the shutter. And so when you get the photo at the end,
You can actually
well-lit.
see to the back of the bar.
Everything is balanced.
As an aside, I met with a company here called Spectral Edge. It's a UK company. It's a startup, and they're working on computational photography algorithms that balance out, pardon the pun, but the complexity of what I'm about to say, balance out the white balance in photos. So that scene where you're taking a photo indoors where there's two outdoor windows.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And so HDR does its magic.
Yeah.
That's great. But the white balance is wrong outside versus inside. The outside looks really blue. The inside looks
Right.
really yellow.
Yeah.
The camera averages it out best it
Right.
can. People are looking a little yellower than our eyes see,
Yeah.
but the outside looks a little bluer than our eyes see.
Yeah.
They fix that. They're able to determine the different zones of white balance and automatically mask them out and do it really fast computationally. And so I told them they should make an app so that we can start using it on our phones.
Right.
And they are working on that.
Right.
Obviously, I didn't have to tell them.
Next
but
thing we
but
have
the point is this stuff is coming. And again,
Right.
computational photography. And I looked at some samples, and it looks exactly what your eyes would expect.
Yeah.
Yet, if the best camera today still can't resolve this. properly.
No, but I think that it's right now when I was coming, I got a Panasonic G7. I was like, okay, I'm going to vlog and this and that. Oh my God. Like,
It's not a vlog camera.
phones, yes, but how many cameras, even with 5-axis gyro stabilization on even more expensive cameras, which cameras do stabilization as well as a smartphone today?
Very few.
Yeah.
Very few. And so it's one of those things where right now, smartphone cameras are already significantly better in stabilization. They're also significantly better in computational photography where they at least know what they're taking a photo of and they adapt to that.
Right.
Regular cameras can't do that.
I don't understand why Canon and Nikon and Sony especially at the high end, at the Alpha 7, D9, D820 and, 5D Mark, whatever, 29 that it is now, 5, don't do this in their processing. Like, why don't they they have all this glass and phenomenal full-size sensors. They're great. Now, on top of that, put all this computational stuff and go nuts. Like, you're just going to blow everybody's mind.
But if you think about it, it has a lot to do with the
audience
and the power of the processor and whatever they have.
That's why Samsung's, what was it? Remember when they did the camera with the Exynos built in at one point?
Yeah,
and that was
the Galaxy
really
Cam,
the Galaxy Cam. That was a really powerful Galaxy NX. I think.
Yeah, it was the NX.
The NX, it had the Exynos.
And that was, I felt like that maybe would have been the step in that direction you're talking about.
I mean, all they have to do is put a Snapdragon 845 in there. Thanks, Qualcomm.
Yes.
Thanks, Qualcomm.
Sure.
Good plug. But you know what? I mean, for me, my expectations of Samsung, exactly what you're saying, is like, how much effort do we really have to put into the hardware? Maybe you should be focusing your efforts elsewhere. Computation, photography.
But that's not what Samsung does. And it's also not what Apple does. And that's why eventually, I mean, obviously Apple's not going to be in trouble anytime soon. And I'm a huge Apple person. I love the Mac as a platform. But I think that Apple, has shown over and over again, and Samsung has definitely shown over and over again that they can't create a services ecosystem to save their lives. Yeah. And Google owns that market. Most people I know that have iPhones love their iPhones. And if you look at their iPhone app roster, it's pretty much all the Google apps. They're all there, at least on the West. And that just goes to show you where the world is at. And I would give up if I were with them. Like, I've shown so many of my friends how to install Google Photos so that they don't run out of iCloud storage. And they love me for it. They say, why didn't I do this soon? And I'm like, you already have a Gmail account. It's completely free. The chance of you running out is slim. And iCloud, you can still do all your Find My Phone, all your backing up of your iPhone. You'll never run out of those 5 gigs if you don't put your photos on there.
Right. So the only thing that Samsung will make money from is the kickbacks they get from Sephora and CoverGirl for that makeup feature.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Which Nicole has a lot to... has a lot of thoughts.
Wow.
So tell us about that, and also I want to hear your take on the emojis. Everybody's got their emojis.
I look terrible.
And it drives me nuts.
My hands-on video has me.
That's right.
So
I haven't created one.
I just want to say that personally, I find that the emoji feature on the Samsung is creepy as fuck and does not track as well as the iPhone.
It does not track.
It doesn't track
at all.
Like your eyes are fluttering, your mouth is quivering.
It's either the iPhone doesn't like my face, or it's just I think it doesn't like my face, because even the portrait mode for me it doesn't do hair well or anything. Like for me, the portrait mode on the iPhone is crap, like terrible. But then the Animoji, it's like I'm talking and it's going in another direction, or it works. It just doesn't really. I notice that for some people, either they're making more comical faces, but you can't speak naturally to it and have it behave.
Well, I agree. We joke about this all the time because David Kogan has such an expressive face. It really depends on how expressive your face is. Yeah. He can kind of like, as an actor, like
he's the locker.
So when he sends me his Animojis. They kind of work, but so for me, I have to kind of like work harder. So maybe over animated, but it will track
do some exercises.
I tried that with the Samsung phone because for my hands-on video, I did myself doing the spiels, the intro, but the mouse was just basically like.
And
it was like
weird.
Just doing fishbowl.
It would not open.
So Nicole, I want to hear. I want to hear a nice rant from you because I know I can feel it coming.
Like that presser made me quite angry in the middle when she's like, "Of course I love shopping and buying makeup." I'm like, "Of course you do. Of course you like shopping and buying."
Wait, let's give them context. Like, who said this?
Well, so I mean, like, yes, they had like every ethnic group on there, and there was even a challenged person on stage. Like they worked for having diversity.
They did,
but like when it came around,
but it was so tone deaf, no matter what.
It was so I guess it came down to semantics. If she just said, "I like shopping and buying makeup," so having Bixby help me do this through this would be like, okay, cool. But it was like, of course I love shopping and buying makeup, right? It was over presented, and then the of course thing made me wanna. And then so I did a tweet and it was like, of course I like shopping and buying makeup, but then it was #MeToo.
But that's the thing, and it's the reason why I don't like to go to press events that are live streamed, because they're designed for the audience. They're not designed for us.
Well, and this so this was my other thing with it. You're right. Like, so tech journalists are not the demographic for this presentation.
Yes.
But for me, it could have been Facebook giving this keynote. You guys are going to make everyone so jealous on your social networks, right? It's like basically was their entire message.
It was.
So like I found that a little disappointing because.
Just so the listeners know, we're talking about the press conference. If you got a chance to see it streamed, but it wasn't really open to the public. Otherwise, it was mostly media and industry.
And
I could not focus on it because I was so blown away by the quality of the projectors they were using. Like the video on those.
They always do an amazing job.
But that was better than last year.
Well, last year they were projecting it on the
floor.
That was so cool.
I'm pretty sure they're projecting 4K. When DJ Ko, my favorite DJ, was up on stage, the president of Samsung. I was like, looking at the projected image in front of, I was like, wow, it's like he's life size, like he's bigger than life size in everything. Like, I was just not listening to what he was saying because the video was so good. I mean,
4 times dumped in.
You were, did you guys go to ASUS last night? Did you have the displeasure of going to ASUS last night?
Nicole was.
You saw,
no, you did
Did
not.
you see how crappy that projection system was? Everything was washed out. It was terrible.
Apparently, there also wasn't free Wi-Fi, so our team had
I-
struggles live
look,
tweeting.
I don't want to be too mean to ASUS because they did invite me, but at the same time, here's what pissed me off: is that we got a briefing on the 5 Lite and the 5,
Yeah.
and the
How-
5Z,
how-
the
how's
5Z
that
wasn't
5Z
there.
for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said you should come to the press conference because you have one more phone to announce. And we all knew it was going to be the 5Z, which is the same physically
You're
as the
going to
5 with a Snapdragon 845. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I can run some benchmarks on video and differentiate that way or something. We all thought that. They did not have a single 5Z at the press conference. So I totally wasted my time going there. No offense to ASUS. Like, it's like I knew already I'd been briefed. You're
Same
taking
here.
my time twice. I could have been editing a video, writing stories, partying more at OnePlus and BlackBerry, damn it.
I was so upset. I went to the briefing. And, I was like, okay. And I even told him, like, listen, the purpose of a briefing is not for you to tease me things to go see at your press event. I came to see the products.
Right.
And if you're not going to give me the prices, you're going to leave it for like, well, what's the whole purpose? I can't prepare my article.
Exactly.
I can't prepare my video. Then what was the purpose of this? I mean, why did you bring me? I was so upset. And then when I got to the event, but I pretty much understood it. It's like the phone is not launching until June. So of course they don't have any units. We're freaking February.
Well, that makes sense. But let's talk about ASUS because we should switch gears. And I want to cover everything else at least a little bit. Let's spend maybe 5 minutes on ASUS. I don't think there's much time to spend. My biggest beef about ASUS, I should probably say it wasn't the press conference thing because it's the notch.
Yeah.
It's originality for me.
It's a lack of originality, but more importantly, here's 3 things. First of all, iPhone did the notch. It's pretty controversial. Personally, doesn't bother me, but Apple got away with it. Fine. I knew there'd be copycats. That it's ASUS, it's a copycat. Fine. The thing is, they're not the first copycat. There is a phone on the show floor from a Croatian manufacturer called Nokia, the N10, that I believe shares the exact same display. It's also under glass, meaning you can't touch it. But I managed to get some photo and video of it, not under glass, and yeah, technically it's been on the show floor since Monday morning, so ASUS did not make the first notch phone, and Essential doesn't count because it's not a notch.
No, there's
a bunch of others, right?
There's like
in
a
China?
dozen. Yeah, there's a dozen.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Ulefone made a more beautiful notch.
did they?
Oh, it's I mean, like it doesn't really work, and like the back is cracked on all of them. but like the display is like everybody is put to shame by like how bezel-less and gorgeous this phone is.
I was just
right?
going to say that's my other beef. So not only is there a notch and it's a copycat thing,
It's
and
not
they
done
claim to be
better.
the first, but there's others out there, including here on the show floor. Secondly, there's a bezel at the bottom. It's not full screen.
Right.
Apple at least had the decency to say, we're going to do full screen, cut out a notch because we need to put those
So we
sensors
asked-
in.
Here's the thing.
So-
they're claiming 90% screen to body ratio.
Yeah.
There's a bar down there,
Yeah.
and you know that Nokia N10 I just talked about is the same. I think it's the exact same display because there's a bar down there too, and it's IPS, so it has to have the connector. I think that's what it is.
So we asked them
The backlight.
we asked them specifically to answer. So why the notch? Why this chin down here? And they're like, we're just giving people what they want. That was
That's
the
not
official
the
answer. And we're like, are you sure this is what they want? But if you flip it around as well, they also have the same vertical camera setup as the iPhone 10.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, and here's the thing. There's nothing wrong. I guess we're used to seeing copycats. We've seen
Well,
it
not
from
from.
Samsung.
Well,
It's just, this is the industry. That's the way the industry behaves.
Well,
The funny part is why, diss Apple during the presentation? Like, why talk bad about Apple during the presentation? I mean, it's not like if there's anything original about the phone.
No, we're just drawing comparisons. It's like you're asking for it now when you're just saying, when you're putting 2 and 2 together in the same formula. Like, and one thing now.
No, you weren't in the keynote. So in the keynote, they were constantly like, we do a smaller notch when compared to the Fruit Phone X.
All right,
Yeah.
We do this
They use the
better
word
than.
fruit
All right,
phone.
really?
We use
Yeah.
this better than the Fruit Phone X, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, fine, if your idea would be original, then sure, brag about it all you want.
Or if you did it better,
Or
like if you did
yeah.
it significantly better.
Or if you just did it first. But the thing about it is, there's nothing original. Don't get me wrong, I like the phone. I mean, I held it. For some
It's
reason,
a nice phone.
For some reason, I really like the display.
Yeah.
It's a really nice display for
It's
IPS.
a really
It's
nice
not
display.
OLED, and the blacks are like.
I was really
black.
impressed. Like it's so in your face. It's like if the optical lamination were even stronger on this one. I don't know what it is, but it's
really
in your
impressive.
face. But it's not like there's nothing original about it. It's just tell me about your phone. Just tell me about your phone, and that's it. That's
It's a very competent product. In fact, for 4 months out, I think the samples that we got were pretty damn good. But the thing is that I don't think they're going to sell this, at least to my knowledge, the ZenFone 5 in the US. They're going to do the 5 Lite as the 5Q, which will be their main thing, which has the centered module instead of the to the left, like the iPhone 10.
Yeah.
And it's going to cost to $300, I guess.
Yeah. So what's most important about the ZenFone 5 is that they're returning. Their hashtag was back to 5, and we actually spoke with Johnny, their CEO, and because I remember sitting at interviews with him, asking him about. They talk about empowering luxury all the time, being able to have high-end specs at a low price. And then a year or two ago, was it, when they jacked up prices, and I was like, where is this empowering luxury? And so now I think they listened. And so the main thing about the ZenFone 5 is its price tag. It's cheaper supposedly than last year's ZenFone 4.
€479 for supposedly the 845.
The 845, which is really impressive. And tells me that we're going to see a OnePlus 6 with an 845 and probably a similar display. Or maybe continue with what they have now for probably about the same. So that is actually interesting because then you have choice.
Yeah. And
but actually, I was told $399 and $599 for the two SKUs of the 5, which is a little bit
$599 US.
euro,
Euro.
which is
So I took
They said
which is
$479.
which
No, I
is-
have a photo.
which
on
is
Twitter.
actually different than okay.
Yeah.
No, they put it right on the screen. It's
Yeah,
€479 Euro
They've
for
been
the 5Z.
and they
For
were
the
like,
5Z.
I think they've been
It's
tweaking
like-
prices till the
Yeah.
very last.
It's pretty
And
amazing.
I had my
5Z?
Yeah.
I had my
It
briefing
starts at-
3 hours before.
It starts at €479.
And that's for 4 gig,
Okay.
32 or
No,
64? 4 gig,
So it's not
64.
so it's not
64.
$399.
No.
So the important thing about this phone is that you have a pretty good iPhone-like experience at an affordable price tag.
With tax, though, varies in country and SKU. Like with tax, holy
So
shit.
Here's what's interesting, though.
21%.
Remember that there is a Snapdragon 636 version of this phone called just the ZenFone 5.
Yes.
And honestly, most people don't need an 845. I have to
Exactly.
tell you,
Yeah.
especially when you look at the camera and the display on that phone, which are pretty mid-range, 1080p panels, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And if they
So
can bring
I'd
all
say
this computational photography stuff.
buy the 636 version. You're way better off.
Yeah,
You're going to
exactly.
buy one? Save
And they have
more
the
money.
636 version has the AI chip
How
enabled.
much is it? How much is it though? Do we know? Did they say the price on the 636 version of the
No,
ZenFone?
No.
636 and also the 5 Lite.
The other thing that was funny at the briefing, they went on and on about the audio quality of their speaker, and I totally proved them wrong by pulling out the Mate 10 Pro and going, no, I don't think so.
Well,
even that they had a Pixel 2 to compare, and the Pixel 2 clearly sounded better. And I was like, what are you trying to show? Like you?
Yeah.
There's no mid-range fidelity.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, honestly, it was loud. Yes,
It was loud.
That's
it
it.
was loud.
That's it.
And it's
loud.
stereo now.
And it's stereo, but it's
stereo, but,
anyway.
They're talking about intelligence as well. They used AI a lot.
God.
They're calling it their smartest ZenFone
So-
ever.
I hate it.
Smart.
And it was funny because they're like, oh yeah,
about
we
these phones.
optimize our apps and turn off things in the background based on what you use. And I'm like, that's not really AI.
I did like one thing though, is that their video player cuts the notch out completely by default. Like you can't do full
Yes,
screen
you
basically.
can't full screen
If
it.
you're in video, the notch disappears optically from your face.
Yeah.
And then, you can see basically the whole thing. And that's great because I think the way Apple handles it, they should fix that software update.
Oh my god. The iOS on the iPhone 10 is like, God. And then all the apps that still haven't been updated, like I use Inbox.
Well, you know that they have till April. Like, they put the gauntlet down. There was a press announcement recently where they're like, yeah, because I'm on the developer mailing list for all the manufacturers.
Yeah.
And the developer mailing is that if you don't have your app iPhone 10 ready by April or whatever it is, 15th or something, like by tax day, you're getting out of the store. So I think a lot of people are going to get their shit together. Let's move on to Nokia maybe because Nokia was super exciting.
excitement.
So Nokia, and then I want to maybe cram in Sony in there, but I think we don't have much more time. We're about 15 minutes. So let's talk about let's prioritize Nokia because I'm super stoked about Nokia. I think, look, okay, the first year they were here, they had the tablet. That was 2 years ago. And, it was like, okay, whatever, Nokia's back. We're not quite sure what they're up to. Next year, they were like, okay, now we're allowed to make smartphones. We made a bunch of smartphones. And we were like, okay, pretty interesting, cool. We didn't see any of those in the US, sadly. And then we found out a year later that they've got like something like 3% market share of smartphones sold, primarily because of India, Russia, and parts of Europe. They have 70 million phones sold, that they have 1%, they're the number one dumb phone seller again. And I'm like, holy crap.
No, they're number 3 in terms of shipments in the UK and number 4 in terms of sales.
So anyway, success story, right?
Yeah.
So we get here.
How the hell does that happen in the year?
Crazy.
And they delighted me because last year's lineup, remember, they launched kind of mid-range phones last year. The N8, the Nokia 8 didn't come out till later. I never got a review in it because the US PR sucks. And they finally, get this, a week before I came to MWC, they finally hooked me up with a 3310 3G. I didn't barely have time to play with it. But I talked to Ben and he's aware of it and he's going to hook me up. He says, I'm really sorry, whatever. It's an agency issue. So I'm super excited because what they announced is obviously the banana phone, which we're going to get to. But quickly talking about the Android phone, there is the
Android 1.
So they're all Android 1
now,
which is totally what they were doing last year, but it didn't exist yet, so they couldn't call it that, which is awesome. Android Go on the N1, Nokia 1. The Nokia 1, honestly, at $80 might actually be better than a Moto E4 at $80, which until now was the best, at least in the US, smartphone you could buy for less than $100, bar none. And this thing gives it a run for its money, and it's Android Go. So it's the smoothest cheap phone I've ever used. Yes. It's so instantaneous and so beautiful, and it's got that Lumia aesthetic, the plastic that doesn't scratch through because it's like it's cute. It's really great. And then we have the Nokia 6 remake. They remade the Nokia 6 into an update. Hey, everyone, we're taking photos.
This spontaneous selfie.
And then they did, what else did they do? They did, the 7 Plus and the 8 Scirocco. And those are the two I'm really stoked about.
Yes, agreed.
The 7 Plus and the 8 Scirocco.
Yes.
So, what's your take on this?
I like the 7 Plus better.
Okay.
And it's I think it's one of the best bang for buck phones out there right now.
It's machined out of a solid block aluminum. That's anodization, gold on it.
I love that gold trim, whether it's the white phone or the black phone.
It's so hot.
And if you're a Lumia fan, the Pro mode is just like that Pro mode of Lumia. You swipe up from the shutter button, and then it brings that whole slider rotational dial kind of setting, which was kind of cool. Yeah. A throwback to the Lumia days. Build quality is great.
Oh my god!
Experience, of course, it's pure Android, so no issues with the
and they're supposedly built like tanks. That's what the big selling point.
And it feels really premium.
But I like do I pronounce it correctly? Scirocco.
Scirocco. Yes, the name of a wind in Morocco.
Okay, so I have a hard time with that stainless steel band. It just feels very edgy.
It's like the Galaxy S6, isn't it?
Pretty much. Yes. It feels edgy.
But I like it, honestly. It still feels good in hand.
It feels wide, though.
I think the miss, it's a 69. Yeah, so it's a 69. They missed the boat on that. I think they should have done that as an 18.9.
Well, it's updated Nokia 8, so.
Yeah, because with his edges, it's a little wide.
It's a little wide and sharp.
I mean, the whole thing looks gorgeous. It's stainless. It's machined out of freaking stainless steel.
So it reminds me of the Lumia 925. You remember that one? Mm-hmm. It reminds me of that design, and I like it. So I like the design. Yeah. I like it visually. It's not that I don't like the feel. I just feel it's not ready yet. So it's still a prototype. So it could still need some polish.
No headphone jack on that, by the way. If you want the one with the headphone jack, it's the 7 Plus.
Yeah, I think the 7 Plus is the one to get.
I know.
The Scirocco that feels almost like the unpolished S6, right? S6 Edge.
It feels like an S6 Edge and a iPhone 10 had sex, and out came the Nokia 8 Scirocco.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
Pretty much,
But,
right?
but I'm in love with the
More
7.
modern specs and
I wonder who was on top.
Samsung. You know Apple's about it.
And what camera was used during the filming?
Well, it surely had his Iceland.
It was probably it's probably Huawei because they're the creepy kind of onlookers.
So at 40 minutes, I think that's a good. I know where to cut now. I know where to.
Is this the title? We're gonna get the title.
Yeah.
So because we had a good title last time, so I've come up with one. But so good. They're good. We'll get to them eventually. What about the banana phone? How do you guys feel about
It's
it?
fun.
The 8110 4G. I love it too. But
Love
so many people are cranky about this, going like, Nokia is going to die again if they keep doing these same mistakes. Yeah. The number of comments I've had on all of my postings.
This is
and
weird.
there's so much
Like,
negativity.
seriously?
This is partly
about?
one of their success factors, I think. This once a year retro reboot.
I know,
This
it's
is
like
this is
whimsical.
their marketing strategy.
Yeah. I mean,
Who cares if it doesn't sell? I mean, it does actually.
But it does sell.
anyway.
I know you didn't get your review unit right away, but the
I love it.
3310 was the
It's
star of last year's MWC.
It was.
I mean, it overshadowed everybody else's launches.
else.
And look, I actually think there's a case for the feature phone to come back. I don't know if you were there for that conversation. So one of you was there for the conversation we had with, I don't know, somebody recently, 2 nights ago or something. My take is this. I went to the Yola press conference and they announced that Sailfish OS is going to be available for feature phones as well. So no touchscreen, D-pad navigation, super subset of features. But that means they can provide like a scalable experience for, manufacturers who want to not use an OS that forces you into an ecosystem because they don't care about ecosystems.
Yeah.
But to me, that made me think about what if somebody made a super thin, super light premium. Think Nokia 8080.
That's what I'm hoping for next year.
Right?
Yeah.
Super thin, super light.
Super small.
But actually, I wouldn't go with Sailfish, but I'd go Android Power with a touchscreen feature phone that has a really high quality camera, a good battery, a good processor. Follow me on this. And the thing is, this is a secondary phone you take out when you want to disconnect. And you want to have something super light and thin on you. And the camera, the phone is still good. And here's what it does. You configure it with your laptop through a cloud interface. You configure it with your main phone through an app. And when it takes a photo, it gives you a choice. Facebook, whatever. And you've already put a hashtag in there. And then you pick where it goes or the checkbox where it wants to go. And it's got 4G, it uploads them on the phone. So you still have that, I'm at the party. But you don't have to, never have to QWERTY. And also, for people who want to disconnect, you can still consume a bit of Facebook, but you can't comment. You can't do anything unless you want to use T9, which you can still do. And I can imagine there's a use case for this in the West market. And I think that my big theme for Mobile Congress is that we're seeing a niche-ification of smartphones.
Yeah.
We're seeing these stratas create, like OnePlus was a good example that started that, the half-price flagship, right?
Yeah.
But all these little niches are getting created. And I think there's room for a niche called the Android feature phone.
Well,
I
don't know if Android is completely, maybe I would love Android on it, but I mean, the whole point of being able to disconnect is not having all those features, right? Exactly. But they're really pushing 4G. Even in there's hotspot mode. There's
exactly. And so
but the reason I'm suggesting a feature phone is because imagine even if it doesn't have T9, right? Imagine basically it's just a touchscreen and you just it's too small and too impractical to actually use to message. But imagine there's a keyboard dock, right? And the dock is just either Bluetooth or physical. And all of a sudden you turn it into, it's kind of like, at the core, it's still a really good Android phone. It takes good photos. It has all the app ecosystem. It has a good processor, has good battery life, but it's thinner, lighter, more polished. And then if you want, you can accessorize. If you really want QWERTY, you can add maybe a second screen that gives you the keyboard or a hardware keyboard that gives you the keyboard. I think there's room for that now. And
there's room in China where the W2018 is. So.
Well, the W2018 doesn't have QWERTY though.
I mean, it has T9, but again, you said dock, you said it, accessorize it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, here's the thing. One of the things that I like, going back to the banana phone, the guy was like, it's hotspot 4G. You literally get like 4 days of hotspot if you want.
I know, it's great.
I'm like,
I can use that no matter
I
what.
can totally do that.
It's your personal hotspot.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's like, it's a phone that doesn't necessarily have to be a phone.
Yeah.
It's also a communicator for people that are just looking for communication. But for me, it was like, one, it's obviously the retro. I mean, back when that phone launched, you have to remember, it was when the Matrix.
I know.
It was 1999 when that phone was shown. You could not buy that phone. They literally only launched like a special edition, and nobody had it. Like I know of nobody that had that.
Oh, it's
phone.
impossible to find eBay.
Yeah. And so, but here's the thing: it was spring assisted.
Well, only the one in the Matrix. That
Only
was a
the
problem.
one.
Really?
That was
Yes.
They got it the inside to put a spring in it. It was never spring assisted.
Are you serious?
Yes, it was never
My
spring
heart just
assisted.
broke.
I know.
Yes, it was never
Harsh.
It was
That was
only in
just
the
the
movie.
Matrix.
Only in the movie.
Oh my god. Okay, fine. But can I have? Okay. Technology has evolved.
It is still not spring assisted, by the way.
It's 18 years later. Can we please have like a pro version that's spring assisted? I mean, I pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The Wachowskis own the rights to that.
€79 is
That too.
change at that point. Right?
That too
So
as well, right?
It's pretty exciting.
I pay $100 for the spring assistance.
So here's the thing that I actually just realized is because I was in Africa last week and I did a feature, or I'm planning a feature over the next few weeks, and I didn't realize that the next big market for mobile is Africa.
Oh yeah,
It's definitely
Right, but also okay. I guess I knew that, but I didn't know that it's 90% feature phone.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like over 90% feature phone. I was like, okay, so if you were in Africa and you had this banana phone, you would be like
It'd be like
baller.
iPhone 10.
Yeah, you'd be
Yes.
like, bam, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you probably would have LTE because it's actually way easier to deploy high speed and wireless than it is to do wired high speed in those
These
days.
days,
So
yeah.
I'm stoked about what Nokia did. Let's quickly maybe end with Sony.
It's thick.
It's too thick.
It's thick.
And not only that, but it's a ultra wide screen, edgeless display that has a lot of bezel still. Like I don't know how much could miss on.
Yeah.
Like they were bezel masters before, and they're now reduced bezel masters, but they're still bezel masters.
But they remind me.
Bezel masters. That's the title
The
of the
reduced
podcast.
bezel masters is going to be the name of
There
a
you
pop
go.
rock group.
So I think reduced bezel masters.
That's
Okay,
the title.
that is the title for
Reduced
this.
bezel masters.
Reduced
I'm
bezel
making
masters.
a note.
Okay, but here's the thing. I didn't like the phone. I'm sorry, Sony. And I feel that Sony is trying to reinvent its mobile division. And so this is like the first Pixel where it's like, give me something now. Like, I need to announce something now. And they're like, it's going to be really thick. I don't care. I need to show something right now at the event. Okay, and here is the new thing. And that was it. I feel that it's not a refined product. I mean, I even grabbed the devices that were at the show. They took us to the camera section, and it looks like if the fingerprint where the fingerprint is, like if you hold it in different angles, it seems like if it's not even well manufactured.
Yeah.
Uh,
And it genuinely feels like, well, we're going to put it on the back now, but there are some bits in there that we can't figure out how to position it, so we're just going to put it a little too low.
Yeah. That was quite a bit too low.
Yeah.
It looks pretty though. I think it's
I
pretty.
actually
It's
think that
nice and
I
shiny
like
glosses.
the big one. I think the proportions on the big one are actually really good. The small one, you see that they've tried to reduce its bulk aesthetically,
But if I throw
but
that-
it's bulky,
But if
but they have a big battery in it. So I think that's actually a good thing. The compacts have always been pretty good about that.
Yeah, but if I throw that
Is
thing
it
to your
20
neck,
meters?
you're in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like it looks
So-
like a freaking rock.
So here's my thing. I was the biggest Sony fangirl ever, and I was huge. I was like, so dedicated, and I'm disappointed. I'm genuinely disappointed in this phone. I want to love it, but it's not enough. But the thing is, maybe this is the beginning. They're like, it's a new leaf. Maybe the
Maybe
next
it
one.
is the
The
beginning.
next one
Yeah,
maybe is the
yeah.
one I'm
Because
gonna love,
this
right?
really has been.
Because, like,
if
if
you're
they
an
kept on
Xperia
going-
That's what I
fangirl,
was telling you.
I want to
So
know like
it's
how
like
you
the
feel
first
about.
Pixel. I hated the
Yeah.
first Pixel
Yeah.
visually.
Yeah.
It was a great phone, but I hated
Because
it
it's
visually.
now.
I mean, this is me and my first X, so take that with consideration.
How do you feel about it? Because it's been square and boxy all their life,
Yeah.
and now it's round, and it is like such a major change.
Soft.
And now it's pregnant.
softer.
And now it's pregnant.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
little bit of a bump. But
Yeah.
you know, some phones. I mean, back in the day, some phones did have bumps that kind of wrapped around your palm. That's a
Yeah.
nice feel. I'm
I
hoping.
mean, I'm okay with the design language change
I'm okay, yeah.
because it's just they
happen.
couldn't keep going in this direction.
Right.
So like this isn't the one.
So maybe
like,
this
they didn't
signals
nail
the
it.
change.
But
the
this
start
is
of the
maybe
change.
the one where the next one I'll love
But
it.
come on, Nicole, it has a Snapdragon 845.
You know,
Don't you know?
my biggest problem with Sony and my biggest beef with Xperia phones is the fact that you know that one of their biggest money makers is making chips, camera chips, for all sorts of brands, but they still can't make
Nail it on their own phone.
Photos on an Xperia have never been
the worst
the
part.
best,
You're nailing it, but you're missing the one thing. They still don't have OIS on that camera. So they are the number one producer of OIS modules in the world, and they don't have OIS on their own module on the entire Z line since its inception for what, 7 years now?
I mean,
It's
and
reference hardware.
and the software has been terrible. They've never been
They
able.
were like,
Yeah.
just give me a phone now to show at the event. We're not. Just give me something, anything.
Yeah,
that is this phone.
It's been so hard to love.
I'm worried, though,
but
because-
maybe this is the change.
But come on, Nicole, 1.2 gigahertz LTE.
Remember last year?
Oh, sorry, yeah, gigabit.
Gigabit
Didn't
LTE,
last year's
copyright.
phone come out in August, July or August?
So I mean, it's been such
announced
an
at
iteration.
MWC.
Yeah.
So this is going to be announced at MW. Although they're saying they're going to be available next month.
Yeah,
Next
and
month.
and they did say that there was going to be a new one in 6 months.
Yeah.
There was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pregnant phone.
That's amazing. They're not going to make one in 6 months.
They
That's
are,
so
they are.
unreal.
Yeah.
Oh, they are. I was going to
They
say,
are.
that's
They're
so
sticking
unlike
to that tradition.
That IFA,
They're
yeah.
sticking
That
to
IFA
IFA,
launch,
yeah.
Yeah.
They're sticking to
The
it.
XZ2 Premium, perhaps.
XZ2.
Oh, boy.
Pregnant
I
premium.
had,
Is
I
that
had
display
to.
1080p or is it 2K? Oh, 4K.
No, not 4K anymore.
4K.
Not 4. No,
Oh,
only the
that
premiums
is
are the 4K.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Only the premiums.
No, but is it Quad HD is what I meant. It's not Quad HD.
It's not.
1080p plus?
Which is
It's-
weird for
yeah.
Sony. That's a step down.
Yeah.
Because they did Quad
But the
HD on the
display-
premium last year.
Well, that's
The
where the
display's beautiful, though.
and that's where the panels are at this point with the OEMs making them. So
Except for Apple.
except for Apple,
Well,
Except for Essential.
Samsung.
Except for so many of them have, I mean, come on, like V30, well, okay, it's not a good reference for a display. But the
Oh my
V30 and
God.
the Pixel 2 have Quad HD
Do your
displays.
units have screen burn? It's not screen burn, but what is it?
Image retention.
Blotching?
Oh my god!
doesn't. Mine's great.
Does. Like
Really?
that clock, that persistent clock, like completely
Aw.
crosses into the user interface.
Oh boy.
It remains there for like I guess it's 5 minutes and then it goes.
is this
Oh,
like your
boy.
engineering, the first one they gave
No,
out?
the right now the
Okay.
V30S
S.
Plus.
I-
So
have to
let's
figure out
quickly
what
talk
it
about
is.
that and maybe wrap up on that because we're going to
Sure.
kick us out any second here. So LG made another phone, not really.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
But I want to.
Thank you very much.
And that's fine.
yeah,
And I'm
agreed.
fine with that. I'm
Agreed.
fine with that.
So I've actually heard about Samsung's strategy and that they're trying to repurpose Bixby 2.0 is coming out in time for the Note 8 launch, Note 9 launch, and so they're doing. We have a brand, but we're not ready for AI yet. Whereas LG is like, we're thinking about AI. We heard about AI ThinQ in appliances and whatnot at CES, and now we can do it on our phone. This is where we're headed, and we had a good talk about AI as well. So it's nice to know that they have an AI brand. They're thinking about it, and then I'd rather wait to have a good product that has it kind of like ties it all together, right?
You know, it's not like if LG is selling so many phones. So I would have rather they, you know, if it was a supply thing to get Snapdragon 845s, they could have waited. I mean, they could have revived the V30, the V30 if they would have had.
No, why not?
Why not?
Why
wait?
not? Why
Yeah.
not? Like,
Yeah.
why not? I
Because
mean,
last
Crazy
year,
chance.
last
Why
year was
not?
so unfortunate. Was it the G6 because of Samsung monopolizing the
Yep,
821 chips,
821.
821 chips, and then LG had to come up with a 2016 processor in 2017. That was a bad move. I mean.
It was a fourth.
It was a good processor
Yeah.
still, but I mean, who wants to buy last year's processor in this year's
Well,
phone? So I'd rather them wait.
To be fair, like you're going down the spec sheet, and it's like, well, who does that in the first place?
No, what I'm saying is, I like the strategy of LG waiting to launch their next flagship until June. I actually praise that.
I think it's good.
What
Me
I
too.
what I
It's a
don't
good
understand
gap,
is
though.
what WTF with the V30S Plus ThinQ. It's like, really? Why don't you just give me a software update to the V30?
I
if
think
you're
they just
giving me
wanted to
everything?
announce something new.
Well,
Why not just
but
leave
they-
like the as 6 gigabytes, 256 storage? Like that could be it.
They're
you know, it's
bringing
possible that internally, and I actually thought they would cram an 845 in there. They did, but I think I've seen this many times. We don't see it quite as commonly today, but Rev 2 electronics. Like the outside is identical, even the mounting points on the inside are identical, but there might have been some issues that we weren't aware of in terms of manufacturing that kind of made them think, okay, since we're not coming out with another phone for another 6 months, we kind of need something, but we also have internally these issues, and they're minor things that are not going to affect people in a major way, but they affect us in cost of manufacturing, supply, demand of parts. Maybe we should retool this a little bit, and then we can actually add some software feature to differentiate it. And I think that's what happened, because honestly, there's no reason that these software features couldn't come to the V30, and they might still come to the V30.
They will.
But
They promised it.
But it's possible we're just getting a better phone.
They promised it. So it's gonna...
I was secretly hoping that there was even a little bump in the quality of the selfie cam. You know what I mean?
The selfie cam is what kills the V30, right? I saw that photo that you took that you were like, no, it wasn't you. It was someone else that took a selfie recently. And it was like sad.
That's what we were hoping for. Actually, Nicole and I were playing around as soon as they came.
I want to still say the V30. If you're an audio person, audiophile, listen to music with wired headphones. Nothing.
And Nicole loves her wide angle.
I forgive.
Nothing touches.
It's
the
not
V30.
even nothing touches. Nothing breathes even close
to the V30.
So let's quickly tell them what the V30's AI camera does, right?
It looks like it's very gimmicky.
Yes.
Like basically,
it's very similar.
I want to put them all, except for Google, I want to put them all in the. We need to come up with a word like fake, not fake, but gimmicky, or maybe with a cheesy AI box.
Yeah.
The ZenFone, the V30, the Sony, the Galaxy S9, they're all doing AI image. Oh, and the Mate 10 was the first, the Mate 10 Pro as well, and the View 10 as well. They're all doing these pseudo, they are AI, but they're really not the kind of AI that Google is doing, because they don't have the data sets.
Right.
And this is where Google shines. It's like you can have all the new processing.
Thanks to your free upload of Google Photos, right?
So that's how you understand why. You remember when Google Photos launched, then nobody understood why.
Why are you giving unlimited?
But not just that. Google has search results from image search. Yeah. So all of that gets collated and created into a data set. You can have the NPU on your Huawei phone, and you can have the good machine algorithm. If you don't feed it, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't feed it good data, you're not going to get good.
You can't just start with a Gen 1 and say, okay, now put all your data in, and now you have to build it up.
Well, that's why everybody who's working in the AI space that is not Google is basically saying, we want to keep this open platform, we want to work with other people, because they know they can't do it alone.
In the great words of Bruce, whoever the heck his name is, yippee-I-A, Emma Hurst. Whoever his name is. I don't know.
So I just found out I'm getting my V30.
Yay!
Speaking of which, let's see. Other topics. Is there anything else you guys want to add? We should probably wrap it up, because they're probably going to get us out of this room.
Yeah.
We think about everything we wanted to talk about, which is pretty awesome.
The last thing that we should talk about that we forgot is that thing hidden in one of those rooms. The Vivo.
The Vivo. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay, so they at CES they showed us a prototype, which they eventually launched, of the world's first under-display fingerprint sensor.
Yeah, and that was a Synaptics
technology. Now they're trying to solve, and I think this is another trend here. How do you solve the notch problem?
Right.
Who did I speak to about I think another theme of MWC is the notch, right?
Yeah.
How do you really give people a full vision, borderless display? And their solution is to just relocate the selfie camera. So now it kind of pops out from the top of the phone. It's similar to Xiaomi phone in terms of the earpiece. So the sound comes from underneath the display through vibration.
Right.
So you can actually share your phone and listen on both sides, which is kind of cool.
That's going to be great in Latin America.
Right?
No need for the headphone split.
Agreed.
Because your wife is going to be like, let me hear your conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Proximity sensor is underneath the display, so you can put your hand over it, and it'll just. And so it's hidden. The other sensor, the ambient light sensor, is up here. And then really, I was watching a video on it, and I was like, okay, now I'm bothered by my notch. Now I'm bothered by my notch because it was really nice to have that full.
It's really cool. I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen the videos. It's really hard to find.
It's still a prototype, really.
But I heard they're using ultrasonic under the display fingerprint,
So
which is a different technology
they're telling
than
me
Synaptic.
they told us it's the same technology. I don't really know, but now they let you.
It's the bottom half.
The bottom half of the display.
Yeah.
It was still very finicky, but the funny thing was you can use 2 different fingers. So almost like a bank account where you need 2 signatures. They're like you and your wife can have a signature to unlock your phone.
I told you.
Yeah, and so there we go. That's the situation. That's the solution we have to the nuclear launch codes. That
Right, 2 fingerprints. You can do that, or
That's
2 of your own,
cool.
or 2. Yeah.
Did they say anything else about the phone? Obviously, full screen display, like full.
No timelines yet. The only way to kind of trigger the camera is to turn. You know how you switch between main camera and selfie camera? That's also the button for ejecting that. They didn't have the Vivo camera software on there yet.
What chipset they're using?
No, none of that.
This is very much a proto, right? So,
Yeah, it was like we just want to show you that we can do this, but it's cool. I like to see experiments and see where what takes
It's a
us.
neat
Right?
concept.
I think this is. I mean, this is the future. Eventually, we're going to look at this. The Mi Mix original did it with the ultrasonic. It's called. There's a name for it. It's
Electropiezoic something.
It's
piezoelectric.
the piezoelectric display, speakers display thing. It never worked well. The first company did that was Kyocera, which is owned by TDK.
Yeah.
And TDK makes a lot of the filter banks for a lot of the antenna systems for all the phones we use. In fact, that division got bought by Qualcomm not very long ago. But TDK is very strong in magnetics. And piezo is a magnetic type thing. So they did that with a Kyocera phone years ago. It was CTIA in New Orleans where they launched that. I can't remember how many years ago that was. And it was okay, but it wasn't very high quality. The Mi Mix brought it up a notch, but then the Vivo's doing it on this prototype. It's still not good enough. That's why the Mi Mix 2 went back to a normal speaker.
Yeah, they did.
I think that still needs to be refined, but I've been saying that the future of the smartphone is that all surfaces can emit light, receive light, so
Right.
cameras under the display,
Right.
can generate haptics,
Yep.
so sound and vibrations, and can receive haptics, so like you can pressure, and can also act as antennas to emit and receive signal.
Right.
And that's the future. And this is the beginning of it. Like half of the display is a fingerprint reader.
Yep.
All display is a speaker.
Sensors underneath
and
the glass.
entire
Yep.
front is a display. We're heading there. 5 years from now, we're going to look back and this is going to be totally normal to us.
Sooner or later, we will become the producers, all of us, instead of consumers.
It's super exciting.
I'm just happy that Vivo is doing it. A lot of Chinese brands, we see them. A lot of them are, you see them as copycats. Even, ASUS we talked about, as copying design. So it's nice to at least see them try to kind of position themselves as an innovator.
There's no doubt that they innovate in China just as much. I think people who say that they don't are full of crap. But the reality is they also copy because, they have to be in the game. And, sometimes it's Samsung innovates, sometimes it's Apple that innovates.
Right.
But it's true that Samsung and Apple and probably Huawei are the three that have been, taking the innovation,
pushing it.
flag or whatever, your torch over the years. And of course, they're powered by Qualcomm, right? A lot. And I mean, not Huawei.
Well, not Huawei, yeah.
But Qualcomm, I think a lot of people don't just forget about it because it's just in there and whatever, right?
Well,
and
it's insane. I mean, I don't think there's any product on this table that doesn't have some sort of a Qualcomm chip.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what's amazing about it. On that note, should we wrap it up? Do you guys want to quickly pimp each of your respective publications, Nicole?
mobilegeeks.com and .de.
And what's your Twitter handle?
Nicole_Scooter.
Woohoo! Jaime?
Well, we're at Pocketnow.com and obviously at Pocketnow on social media. You can find me at Jaime_Rivera.
Love it.
Or Jaime Rivera on Instagram, which is I'm mostly on Instagram.
Okay.
Jules?
I'm Michael Josh Villanueva.
No, you're not. You're Jules. Start again.
You look very similar, though.
And Point Jules on Twitter. Sure, let's go with that.
And you're with Pocket now, too,
I'm
right?
in Pocket, yeah.
All right.
And I'm the real Michael Josh. GadgetMatch.com, GadgetMatch on social, YouTube especially, and Facebook. But on social, my own personal is Michael Josh. Easy.
Awesome. And that's on Twitter and Instagram.
On
everything.
On everything.
You guys know where to find me. I'm at Tankgirl on Twitter. That's TNKGRL, just like the comic book character without the vowels. That's also the same on Instagram. Miriam Jouar on YouTube, so youtube.com/Miriam Jouar. Please subscribe to the channel. Also, subscribe to this podcast, mobiletechpodcast.com. You'll find us on iTunes and on Pocket Casts as well. Stay tuned for more. We'll have another show next week. I hope you've enjoyed this MWC second special show. And thanks for all of you for being here. Thanks so much.
For having us.
Woohoo! Yay! All right, laters. Oh, and one more thing. I love listening to music podcasts and audiobooks on my phone. So I'm very pleased to let you know that Audible have come on board to sponsor the Mobile Tech Podcast. So if you'd like to support the Mobile Tech Podcast and get started with listening to incredible audiobooks such as Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson, then pop across to audibletrial.com/mobiletech. That's audibletrial.com/mobiletech. And download it now for free.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.